Hi everyone, welcome to this video on lesson 3 of the reproduction scheme of work. This lesson is about puberty. Again, I'm not going to draw anything under the visualizer in this video. I'm just going to talk you through how I would go through and teach this lesson. One thing to say here, and actually I possibly could have said this in the previous lesson on the reproductive systems. This is one of those topics where we're not just science teachers, we're also kind of PSHE teachers. This is not just preparation for students to go on and study embryology or goodness knows what in biology as specialists. This is also about making sure that students leave school and are able to make informed choices about reproduction, essentially. So in that sense, whereas a lot of science lessons do sometimes feel like, okay, you just need to know this. Actually, in these lessons, and especially this one on puberty, I think, it is really, really important that we use some more discursive pedagogies. You'll see some turn and talks in here and opportunities for student discussion. And it's important that we listen to the ideas that students have around these things already, and then we guide them as to how scientists would classify these different changes that happen during puberty. And again, the way we can kind of guide them as scientists, rather than just telling them this is what happens, that's it, my advice would be bring it back to the big idea. So remembering that in order to reproduce, which is a fundamental part of what it means to be an organism, in order to reproduce, human beings need to somehow achieve fertilization. So the sperm meets the egg, they fuse, and a new organism is created. And if you frame everything that happens during puberty in terms of fertilization, that is going to help students kind of hang those new ideas onto some existing knowledge, to use the metaphor, in their minds. So rather than, as I say, rather than just telling them all of this stuff, if we always bring it back and say, well, okay, why might the penis grow larger, or why might periods start, or whatever? It's not just telling students that that's what happens, it's framing it in terms of the big idea. So all of these things are going to make fertilization more likely to occur successfully. And in that case, that means humans have a better chance of reproducing, and that ultimately is what we as organisms desire. Again, I think it's a relatively straightforward lesson. It starts with the physical changes that take place during puberty. It ends with emotional changes, and then there's an activity at the end which kind of summarizes all of those changes. And again, just to stress, it is an opportunity for more discursive pedagogy. It is important that you engage with ideas. Equally, you know, in any lesson with year 7, where you're talking about a penis growing larger, there is an opportunity for students to be a bit silly, and I think it's really important, therefore, that you are confident, but also quite assertive in some of the ground rules that you're going to have when you're having those discussions. And again, if you frame it in terms of fertilization and this kind of task of the discipline of biology of understanding why is it that these changes happen, rather than just saying, oh, these changes happen, isn't that funny? Then I think if you set those ground rules early, then you've got a much better chance of having a successful lesson in which students really engage, and they will be really, really interested in this stuff, because obviously it's very relevant to their lives. This lesson was on puberty. What we're going to do in the next lesson, I will be back under the visualizer for that for the next video, because we're going to look at the menstrual cycle, and that is a really key idea that's going to tie together the next kind of mini sequence of lessons, all the way through to contraception and gestation and so on.